Hey guys, welcome back to a World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Ohio. We've gone through those steel battleships and you know the order of that list now. But Ohio is just a little bit better than all of those. Steel is a difficult resource to get, of course, but so are Research Bureau tokens. This is a very endgame ship as well. We all know how powerful Ohio is, of course, 457s, Overmatch, all that, combined with a very tanky hull and a very fast reloading heal. This ship is really, really good. I would certainly put this up at that Bourgogne Lauria level, in fact, even a little bit higher. This game is going to go down to the wire. It's going to be a very close match, which is what I want to see out of this game. These are my favorite matches, of course, the ones that aren't blowouts, the ones where your decision making actually matters. So what are we doing in this one? Well, in this one, we are pushing towards the sea cap here. There is a super carrier to worry about in this game, as well as a super battleship. And the weird spawns for this one made it so I'm a little late to sea. I actually spawned a little bit south of the B cap area even. They spawned basically our entire team towards A, and then the Duncan, Moskva, and Sherman up in the north. So I figured I'd come up here and help a little bit. I knew A was just going to be a bow-on, stalled out fight, so I didn't really want to play down there. Sometimes it is okay to leave the cap that you spawned at. Mostly here because I spawned closest towards the north compared to the rest of my teammates that definitely spawned further south. We do get an okay hit into the destroyer up here, but the main thing is we want to deal with this Duncan and this Petro, help our team push through this side of the map a little bit earlier than they otherwise would. That way, hopefully, we can lock the enemy team into the quarter of the map that they would have left. That's the whole idea here. You've seen some games like that where I've been on the receiving end of some matches where, yeah, we were locked in a quarter of the map. I think that was the Ilaria video this week. There was the one game where I got 5 million potential damage. Our team lost 3/4 of the map, and then we lost the game. That is a pretty reliable thing that happens if you lose 3/4 of the map. Not always, but a lot of the time. You do want to control more of the map. I think that's pretty basic, but that is the goal up here. Broadside Petro, the one shell that hits is a Citadel. Thank you, RNG, for allowing that. I was a little scared when I saw that RNG or that dispersion coming out of those main guns. Ohio is typically pretty accurate, although I find this ship certainly can troll me. And we're going to get trolled quite a bit in this game before it's over. The Petro is still pretty broadside, I would say, especially against something like an Ohio. And we hit one shell that bounces. So the two extremes, I guess. One hit and we do literally 0. And the other hit, we do the maximum we possibly can. That's just kind of battleships in a nutshell, isn't it? A lot of randomness to them. Fortunately, we do have our secondaries here. They're not going to be penning all that much just because they don't actually have a lot of HE pen to them. But they have okay fire chance, and the rate of fire is pretty decent as well. We do help take out that Petro. And just like that, we have the C cap here. Now, the enemy team has started to push through A, right? Of course, that's their only real play at this point. Otherwise, we're just going to gain so much map control so quickly. So they are doing what they're supposed to, and that's going to result in a pretty close game here. There is a Yoshino in B, which should get spotted soon. That's kind of just a free kill for us a lot of the time, especially at these closer ranges. If he's at 20 kilometers, it can be harder to hit, but Yoshino is a very, very large cruiser with not a lot of armor. So using our Overmatch, we should do pretty well here. We'll grab this cap here, helping our teammates secure it, and get a decent salvo. Only 2 hits, but he did turn, maneuvering to avoid most of our salvo. But if he goes broadside here, I think we should get a pretty nice shot into him. Whenever I'm playing in Ohio, I really am looking for opportunities to get some flanks on people. This ship is not as fast as a Lauria or a Bourgogne, like I talked about with those flanks, but getting any sort of battleship guns, but especially these ones on broadsides, it's going to do some damage. Most of the time. Most of the time, it's going to do some damage. I typically don't like just bow on HE spam fights. I think you guys know that by now. That's the main reason that I went up north here, and some of the time I will swap flanks just because of that. Or I'll try and push in and try and get some better angles. Ohio has some decent tools to push in. No hydro, of course, but that fast cooldown on the heal helps it a lot. I have no idea how that salvo went so high, by the way. I aimed right at his bow, and he was very slow, and somehow that one went high. I don't get it. I really don't get this aiming system. You expect shells to land short, right? When people are kiting away from you, they turn away from you. They're always going to go short, right? Somehow that all went too high. Don't understand it fully. Like I said, we're going to get trolled a little bit. I thought the Yoshino would be a free kill, but clearly not. At least our teammates had our back there, or at least they were able to deal with that Yoshino themselves. I'm pretty far back at this point. I grounded on that rock, greedily trying to get a nice broadside shot in the Yoshino. Didn't pay off. That is okay. We'll try and do some damage to the Hindenburg, but he's so far away that really we'd have to pop our spotter plane if we really wanted to lead properly, so these should probably just land short. Now that the enemy team is pushing out of the A cap, honestly, a lot of the time, you do want to go back and support your teammates on their kiting flank. But none of our teammates are actually left. You always know that I don't like pushing the enemy spawn. I think that would be a great way to lose this match if I had continued to push the enemy spawn. So what we're going to do instead, normally I would be rushing all the way back. I would not be stopping here. But what we're actually going to do is stop here on this island. I think you know where this goes if you've seen some of these brawling battleship videos before, but trying to isolate fights, 1v1s, that kind of thing. Limit the number of people that can actually shoot at us. Yeah, Ohio's tanky. Yes, we do take a lot of damage before we go down, but what if we could just limit that damage entirely, right? There's no need to take extra damage if we don't have to. So this Duncan and I are going to set up here, and with the carriers help spotting, as well as our DDs and our cruisers, we should do pretty well here, especially if we can deal with this Hindenburg. He turns broadside. Dispersion's not the best. We get a bunch of overpens. It's still 11k, so the alpha damage is pretty nice, that even some overpens is going to do some good damage, but a little bit unfortunate here. With that Hindenburg down, there's really only the Småland in the south. I'm very confident that their carrier has already gotten into A, right? That's a really safe spot for him to be, close enough to the battlefield to launch planes pretty quickly, so really not much point in having our guns turn toward the south at this point. We really just need to start dealing with these battleships as they push in. And you know from a lot of my videos where I'm the guy pushing in and dying pretty quickly, or at least maybe not the videos. Those games tend to not be shown because they're not very good. But I die a lot on when I'm streaming, let's say. You take a lot of damage when you're trying to push as a battleship. So that's what we're going to try and do here, take advantage of that. Notice how we are trying to make use of this island. Our Duncan's pretty healthy as well, full health, so that should help us. We're getting some weird dispersion here. We really haven't done much damage since the early game here. But trust me, this game does end very strong. Even when an RNG is trolling you, at least if the games do last long enough, it should all equal out, hopefully. We do finish up the Schlieffen there for our third kill. Of course, going after the GK next. Always trying to eliminate the number of guns, the number of ships on the field that's available to shoot at our teammates, right? I don't want to go after the full health Satsuma or the full health Iowa that's further back. We want to help take out the GK first and then focus targets down. That's going to be the best thing we can possibly be doing in this scenario. Even shooting HE. You notice how I've been stubbornly shooting AP into things? I need to shoot HE more. It just has to happen. The fires do a lot of good work, as well as you're not going to get bounces when it comes to the high explosive. If you land a hit, there's always a chance for a fire, so you're always typically going to get damage when you hit someone with high explosive. Our secondary is getting into the engagement as well. I will show you guys the build towards the end. This is not exactly an optimal build, but it certainly worked out in this one. I've been running a lot of AA builds recently, not because they actually work, but because there's just usually planes around me, let's say. And I want a little bit of extra help against them, even if it doesn't do all that much. Sticking with the HE here might be tempting if the Iowa's going to go broadside, but you notice a bunch of shatters there, and yet we still got a fire, so we're going to get some more damage out of that. Our damage is finally starting to tick up now that we are finally shooting some high explosive into these guys. I do think that the special commanders in the American tree are going to be not needed, but really desired on a ship like Ohio. When the HE is hitting, it's pretty solid, and that expert loader swap is really nice. Sansonetti also has that on the Italian tree. That's why it was so good to have on the Laria, SAP, and AP swapping. Any ship that you want to be swapping ammo types a lot, well, you're going to want that extra help on the gun feeder. It's just such a nice skill to have. And I'm going to be pretty indecisive here. Probably should have shot the DD in hindsight here now that I'm looking at it, but it's going to take my turrets a while to turn. I figure I've got a pretty healthy Moskva carrier. I should probably just try and focus on this Satsuma, who, let's be honest, could do a ton of damage to us, especially if he hits the right areas, especially our bow, actually. He overmatches us through the bow pretty easily. Indecisive also by swapping to the armor piercing there pretty late. And look at where the shell lands. He hits our stern and gets like 20k into our stern there. Pretty unfortunate, pretty unfortunate. But hey, we still have HP left, and we are going to get some RNG in our favor, I hope, too. Notice I have the HE here ready. If he's going to angle, I'm going to just spam the HE into him. Try and get more fires. Our secondaries will be landing fires. I'm limiting how much the small end is able to shoot us. Unfortunately, the carrier can just come and crush us over this island, so it's not the best idea. And again, I swap ammo types. I'm really losing out on a lot of DPM here. But we get the Halsey Confederate. Wonky dispersion. I have no idea how that citadeled him. If you look where that landed way in front of his turrets, so some desync there, I guess. I don't know, but we get lucky. Bad dispersion, but we get lucky to get that citadel. We finally have our Confederate, so our reload is pretty insane at this point, as well as that Satsuma didn't do actually that much damage to us with that salvo. That could have been a pretty nasty one again. But we do manage to finish him off, or help finish him off. The Eagle manages to get that kill. And we're up to 215, right? When we got into position there to deal with their push, we were around 100k, and we were struggling to do damage. So the damage can rack up rather quickly. But pushing out here now, probably didn't need to push, but I saw that the United States carrier there was getting into the position here in this channel, so I thought maybe we could get ourselves a nice hit in here, and we do. We're very low on HP though, no heals left. We've used our damage control. Small end is going to farm us. I don't think our turrets can turn in time to really help on the small end. So here's my plan. My plan is secondaries, take out the DD for me, and I'll just try and kill the United States with my main guns. That's the plan. We're getting some citadels. Our secondaries are hitting. It's going to be close, though. 270,000 damage already. Secondaries, get them. There's our close quarters expert. Double fire, though, means we are definitely dead. This is our last salvo parting from this match, and we get them. Double strike, Kraken unleashed, close quarters expert, high caliber, right at the end. Crazy, crazy end to this game. So all that trolling in the early and mid game that the Ohio did for us, that's okay. It pulled through in the end and gave us an excellent finish to this game. It's not often that I'll get a Halsey Confederate that I can actually use. A lot of the time, the game's already won at that point. 5 kills, 3k base, 3.1k base, rounding up there a little bit. Nearly 40k raw damage from those secondaries. You don't see that as often either. And nearly 30k from fires as well. Pretty solid match out of the Ohio. As mentioned, this is certainly not the full recommended build, but it's the one I have been using recently. As you know, I'm always changing my brawling secondary commander builds up, so this is what I'm using right now. As you can see, both of the AA upgrades here, they help a bit. This one here is helping us a lot from giving us one more flak explosion. So we get up to 9 flak, and then we get this upgrade here, somewhat for the AA, but let's be honest, that 40% cooldown while our AA is active to our consumables is actually pretty powerful. I've been enjoying that one quite a bit. Secondary build, still taking AR, and our real only defensive skill on our commander is actually emergency repair expert. I guess the AA upgrades are technically defensive, but against like actual normal gameplay, right, where we're not dealing with the sky cancer, I guess. Where you're actually fighting a surface ship, you know, warship to warship, I guess. Here we are dealing with the upgrades, of course, taking artillery plotting room. That wonky dispersion includes this 11% dispersion buff, so imagine how much worse it could be. It could be 11% worse, so we'd certainly want to take that. Don't get me wrong. Ohio certainly pulled through for us, but Some of those salvos I wish I could have back. Concealment, of course, is very, very strong. Damage control here, simply because we're not really taking much damage control on our commander. Secondaries, nothing else to really take. This is one of the reasons secondary build Ohio can work so well, is you don't have accuracy upgrade. As soon as you go over to, you know, even a GK, right? If you want to run a secondary build, suddenly you're losing out on aiming systems, where on something like an Ohio, you're just not, right? What else are you going to take here? Extra range, I guess. Maybe turret traverse. It's already pretty good. You know, so you may as well go secondaries a little bit on Ohio, even if you're going for a tank build. I am using Auxiliary Armaments Mod 1 here as well to try and keep the AA and secondaries alive. That combined with preventive maintenance ever since it got changed to allow us to take actual survivability on the secondaries and AA as well. Hey, keeps things alive a little bit longer. If I'm speccing AA, I may as well try and keep those secondaries alive and those AA mounts alive a little bit longer. But that's going to do it. That's Ohio. Just a fun, crazy match that I had to end the week here. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and thank you very much for watching.